I'm Jesi.
And I'm Lisa.
Welcome to day 103 of the 1 Year Bible. You made it. You survived Leviticus, so good for you. And we're getting into some really kind of interesting stuff now in the Old Testament. So let's start off. Actually, Lisa, we were talking, how many times have you done the 1 Year Bible?
This is my first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we were talking a little bit about your routine. When do you do it? Do you do it in the morning?
I do it whenever I can. I prefer to do the reading myself, but I am also a mother to two very busy little boys. Yeah. And so sometimes I don't have time to sit down and do the readings myself. And so I love that you can hit play and put in headphones and somebody reads it to you.
Yes.
So I do that like I did the other day when I was doing dishes. My kids were flying around. Other days I'll sit down and do the reading myself and use some resources.
That's good.
So anytime I can.
I was telling you, I typically have listened to it and I'm trying to read it this year. And so there were points even when I was listening to it that I would go back and certain things would really grab my attention and I would read them. But I'm definitely, it's interesting. You have new observations each time. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to, I want to do it again next year. And I'm looking forward to what might pop up for me next year that I didn't focus on this year. So yeah.
So we start off with Joshua 7. And I was joking around with Lisa. I told her that the last one of these that I was assigned, we had the story of Korah and his followers, and the ground opened up and swallowed them. And so we're going to start off today with another fun story of Achan, who unfortunately got a little greedy. As we were saying. And do you want to kind of give a synopsis of that story?
Yeah.
I'll put that on Lisa.
The Israelites were warned in their conquest that they weren't allowed to take anything.
Yeah.
They were warned. And Achan breaks that rule. Yeah. And they don't realize it until they send some people to Ai.
Yeah.
And they're defeated. And this is like their first defeat. And Joshua's like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And God tells him, yeah, somebody broke the rules and stole some stuff. And so they bring different families in front of him. And then God points out the clan that is responsible. And it's Achan's clan, or Achan.
Do you think Joshua was like, are you kidding me? Who now? Who now? When will these people listen?
Yes. When will they listen?
And you and I were both talking about, we were speculating about what the communication system was back in the day. And I wondered this before. Yeah. It's just not a question I've ever voiced to anybody. Like, how were they communicating with this huge crowd of people? Was it, the first person said it, and then we talked about it was like a bad game of telephone. Where it had to be relayed a whole lot of times. And hopefully it was similar to what was actually stated at the beginning. Yeah. I don't know. But Joshua told Achan, he said, confess and give glory to God, my son. And he did. And he said, I wanted them so badly. These things, he took a robe, he took a bar of gold and some silver. Yes. And he said right where they were, they're buried under my tent. So they went to the tent. They found it exactly where he said it was. Yep. And we noted that the silver was buried below the other things. And so unfortunately, Achan and his family and all of his belongings, they took them out and they were stoned. There's no happy ending to this story or no fun way.
I made a note. I was like, whoa, severe punishment. Yeah. That was a really severe punishment. But
yes.
Yeah.
And so this is a lesson in obedience we were talking about.
They were like total obedience was expected of them. And the rules, it's not like they were hidden. The rules were sort of laid out for them. But yeah, God wanted total obedience for sure.
And so then that launches us into the next chapter, into chapter 8. And I have such remorse because right at the top of chapter 8, God gives them instructions again to go into battle. And he says, this time you can keep the plunder. And you just think, oh, Achan,
if you'd only waited, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you'd only waited.
Yes. Yep. So, interesting.
No, it's sort of ironic.
Did you have other observations on chapter 8 of Joshua?
No, that was just, that greed was really Achan's downfall. And if he had only waited, because they got to keep the spoils from the next little battle.
So tell me, we actually have a couple books laying here. So tell me about these.
Okay. So when I do my little, when I have time and I'm not having to do the listening and I'm doing the reading, I have this Bible handbook that I got from the dailygrace.com or Daily Grace Co. Okay. And this one, I call like Cliff's Notes for the Bible.
Okay.
It has timelines and some information. It talks about like the themes, like the narrative.
Okay.
For example, Joshua is a historical narrative. You wouldn't read it or interpret it or look at it the same way you would like the Psalms or the Gospels. And it's like a military historical narrative. So that kind of helps you. It helps you to understand like the things that transpire.
Okay.
And so this helps me understanding themes. And then it does give like a general overall synopsis kind of what happens in that book of the Bible. I like to read it before I start doing kind of the study because it just helps my brain to kind of prepare and understand what I'm going to be reading.
Yeah, interesting.
And then I got this book that is, and this is me, I told you like when I'm geeking out because I like to geek out. So it's got charts, maps, timelines.
Love it.
There's like pictures of different historical artifacts. So
yeah,
I like
so some visuals in there.
Yes, I'm so visual, and when I need to dive in, which I like to dive in and like really investigate things.
That's
I
cool.
use those.
Yeah, so there you go. For those of you that might want to go a little deeper, those are some nice looking resources. I'm a little jealous. With that, let's go into our Luke chapter. Luke chapter 16 was our passage in the New Testament.
Yes.
And again, kind of a funny story. It's a funny story. So you have this steward that was managing affairs for a rich dude, basically. And he wasn't being a great steward. And so the boss called him in and said, hey, what's this I hear? You're not doing a good job. Get your report in order. You're going to be fired.
Yep. Yeah.
And so tell us what happens from that point.
Yeah. So I think the guy panics a little bit and he goes to the people who owe money to his boss. And he's like, how much do you owe him? And the first guy says, 800. Oh, wait. He says, 800 gallons of olive oil. And then he says, okay, well, change the bill quickly to 400. Yep. And he keeps doing that with the people. And then it says the rich man had to admire the dishonest rascal for being so shrewd. And I thought, why is he happy that this guy might be cheating him out of like more money?
Right.
But one of my other resources I use is my Nelson Study Bible that has little footnotes that kind of help explain some of these things a little bit better. And one of the things that pointed out is that what he might have been doing was sacrificing his commission so that the people would just pay what they owed the boss. The boss was still getting what he deserved and what he was supposed to get, and he was just sacrificing his, maybe trying to save himself. I don't know.
I appreciate
thought that was interesting.
Terminology of rascal. I don't know that I've read that before, so it's fun to see that in the Bible.
Yeah.
And interesting.
Yeah.
And then we're talking about Jesus' observation on this story. In verse 9, he says, here's the lesson. And again, it's interesting. I'm not going to say I don't have questions about this because I do. It says, use your worldly resources to benefit others and make friends. Then when your possessions are gone, they will welcome you to an eternal home. And we were both kind of speculating about that. It goes on to say, if you're faithful in little things, you will be faithful in large ones. But if you're dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with greater responsibilities. And that makes sense to me. We were talking about the lessons you teach your kids. You know, when your kids are little, you want to start then. It just the simple thing like sharing a toy. We share. We're not going to hoard, and just teaching them those basic responsibilities.
To be honest, even when nobody knows.
Yes.
Just for the purpose of honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Later on in this chapter, Jesus lays into the Pharisees. And again, it's interesting knowing that Jesus knew what his mission was and that he knew he was going to ultimately go to the cross. He did not hold back. They were scoffing at him because he knew they loved their money. And I kind of skipped over. It says, no one can serve two masters. We were talking about this. For you'll hate one and love the other. You'll be devoted to one and despise the other. Yep. And they were scoffing. And he said, you like to appear righteous, but God knows your hearts. And what this world honors is detestable in the sight of God. And that verse gives me pause from time to time, just to stop and really ponder about maybe something that, we think are valuable or important. And God says, no, we have a different value system. I have a different value system. What other observations do you have about that passage?
I don't know. I think you just summarized what I was thinking. The same thing. It makes me think, I guess, about things in my own life that I might be valuing above my relationship with God, whether I mean to or not, you know, things that I just start letting come to the forefront of my mind and kind of dominate what I feel is important.
Yeah.
And really reading through that, it's like, oh, you know, maybe let me concentrate and think about things that I might be putting in front of my relationship with the Lord and put those where they belong, which is certainly not before my relationship with God.
I was honestly thinking, we were talking about this earlier on a very simplistic level. I like to be physically active and I like to work out. Sometimes just depending on the day, my time in the morning may be crunched and I am sometimes making a decision. Am I going to work out today or am I going to spend time in prayer? Yeah. And as much as I value that physical activity, it is hard for me. Sometimes it feels like laying myself on the altar. Sometimes I'll just say to myself, no, it's going to be okay. I'm going to forego the workout. I need to spend this time in prayer. So sometimes for me, it just comes down to, you know, making that decision in the morning of how am I going to start my day, you know, and I know that this is the better thing. I value physical health, but
yeah, for sure.
Well, we've got a psalm and a proverb left. I'm just being honest. I love the psalms, but I didn't pull a ton out of this particular one, but the beginning is interesting. It talks about verse 1 says, God presides over heaven's court. He pronounces judgment on the heavenly beings. And I was just sharing with you, I just feel like there are things in the unseen realm that I just have no knowledge of and we'll never fully know or understand until we get there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Probably.
Yep.
So, what about you? Did you have anything that stood out? Or do you want to go right to the Proverbs?
Let's go to the Proverbs. Proverbs is probably my favorite.
That's good.
It's my favorite book of the Bible.
So wise words. Verse 2 says, wise words will win you a good meal, but treacherous people have an appetite for violence. Do you know somebody that you can look to when you think of a wise person that chooses their words wisely?
Yes. I know quite a few people and I admire them they keep their emotions in check. They don't let their emotions drive what they say.
That's good.
And they don't answer right away. They contemplate and they think about things and they stay so calm and their voice is just calm.
Yes, that is admirable.
Yeah.
I agree. And then those who control their tongue will have a long life. Opening your mouth can ruin everything.
Isn't that so true?
Yes.
It can ruin a lot of things.
That's good. Yep. Proverbs, we just heard Pastor Larry had sent our staff a passage, a guy named John Stonestreet who was talking about it was more a talk on today's culture. And he just really went back to the book of Proverbs and he said, you know, in Christianity, we have this book of wisdom to reference and it's so valuable. So
it is. It's my favorite. When I have, I'm having a hard time or confused about something, I love to just read in Proverbs because there's so many wise things there.
That's good. Yeah, that can be applied to relationships and just
absolutely
wisdom for life.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's good. Thank you, Lisa, for joining me.
Thank
you, everybody, for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next time.